Ryan Story. I'm the Managing Director here at Shell V-Power Racing Team. I've been with the team since 2012 and we've been really excited to have the year we've had so far this year. We're at the top of the championship table so far and couldn't be happy with our relationship with our major partners in Shell and in V-Power, and I'm really excited to be able to talk to you today a little bit about our engine program. What's particularly interesting is that in 2017 we're celebrating 50 years of Dick Johnson's relationship with Shell. And the sort of thing you see with Shell's partnerships in motorsport brands right around the world is that they are full integrated partners in the engine program and developing fuels and lubricants that make performance. The primary one, of course, being Ferrari and Formula One. Same and a very similar relationship you'll see throughout Team Penske. We have teams in IndyCar and in NASCAR in the United States, not to mention our incredible supercar program here locally. And Shell is an important partner throughout all three of those teams. We have almost an open slather when it comes to the lubricant side of things, and we run within our V8 Supercar, a 5-litre Ford V8 engine, a Shell Helix Ultra 4 based oil, and we've been doing that for many years. It's very similar to the product you can buy to put in your road car, and when it comes to peak performance, you need partners who understand at the heart of things what makes things work. So in the car we're looking for a low viscous, low weight oil. We run 15W50, but don't tell anyone. So the genesis of the engine that we're running now, the 5-litre Windsor, actually goes back to 1993 at the introduction of the Group A rules that saw Falcon back up against Commodore, and that's really what the sport's been about ever since that time, and the V8 formula has run through right up until this day. So the development that's gone into that engine since then has seen it increase in power by well over 200 horsepower since that time. And don't forget, Dick was racing back in those days, and the engines were certainly a major passion for him then, just as much as now. And in fact, he's often a fixture here in our engine shop. He spends a lot of time in here with the boys, wanting to understand what it is we're working on, and often picks up a spanner too. But the development that we've done over time has been something that's effectively allowed the cars that we race today to be equally faster on track, but also more capable of longer endurance, better performance, and equally when it comes to races like the Bathurst 1000, you need to have an absolute certain degree of confidence going into a 1,000-kilometre race like that, and a weekend where your car will clock up easily 1,500 through practice and qualifying and the like, knowing that you're going to have bulletproof reliability. And in a parity formula such as supercars, lubricants really are a key part of that mix. And without having that certainty, without knowing that you've got an engine that can get through its 3,500, 5,000-kilometre life cycle reliably, we can't race as well as what we have been, at least in recent times, and certainly can't have the confidence of getting through 161 laps around the mountain. So one of the things we focus on in racing, when you think about how often we spend on full throttle in the cars, is really thinking about the comparison to your road car and the requirements thereof. At Bathurst, we spend 48% of the lap at full throttle. Now, you don't even reach full throttle on the road going from 0 to 60 or 0 to 100. So the requirements are completely different. And that's really what we have to think about, and the key focus of our engineering group here at the race team, not to mention our engine department. So whilst we talked about starting out with the 5-litre Ford Windsor block, when you think about the completed engine as a whole, over 80% of it is hand-built. We have a cylinder head which we port and machine in-house. We have a bespoke manifold as well, and look, you'll get the opportunity to see a few pictures of our motor through the course of this video, but we don't allow the camera to get too close. So by the time all is said and done, a supercar's engine here costs about $130,000. Fortunately, a rebuild's only $25,000, and we're only doing those every 3,500 kilometres. So we run a dry sump on these engines for maximum performance, and also taking into account cooling of the oil. You don't want it sitting at the base of the engine getting hot. We run up to 9 litres of oil in and through the whole system. But at any point in time, there's about 1.5 to 2 litres within the engine itself. The rest of it's back in the tank. We have to be really conscious about. We race in cooler climates like down in Tasmania. We race in warmer climates like Townsville, Darwin. Basically, the engine needs to be able to sustain really high ambient conditions. And when you're racing nose to tail around the streets of Adelaide, around the mountain, basically you need to ensure that the car can bounce back from getting a big gulp of 60-degree ambient air when you're actually trying to have the water temperature within the engine run optimally between 70 and 100 degrees. Oil, on the other hand too, obviously runs a little bit warmer. You can see temperatures when our cars are on track anywhere from 100 to 160 degrees. So when you think about 25 years of constant development, with this particular engine, and a few years ago the introduction of the Car of the Future formula in supercars. One of the things that changed for us at that time was an engine parity formula that ensured that all engines were almost upon par. And in fact, out of the 26 cars that race on a weekend of supercars racing, the difference between the engine, the variance, is about 0.1%. There's not a lot in it. So what the focus for us is these days is really looking at reducing friction, because our ability to throw millions of dollars in engine development is no longer there. So there's constantly noise coming from this room because there's always an engine on the dyno. Before an engine gets bolted in the car, it gets run up on the dyno as a systems check, a final check. We also use the dyno as a research and development tool and a way to validate whether changes that we've made and thoughts and ideas that we've had actually make things better or worse. And A/B testing is pretty important. So there's always a heck of a lot of noise coming from this room, and it's music to our ears. One of the other things the dyno tells us is just how much power we're putting out at the flywheel. And let me tell you, amongst the supercars teams, it's the biggest secret there is. Think of numbers higher than 640 and you'd be pretty close to the mark. So some of the honing and the machining of the block we certainly outsource, but pretty much everything else we're able to do in-house. We've got a great CNC machine shop. We have 5-axis milling capability. We also make, well, from the bottom to the top, sump to the manifold. All of the custom components on this motor are made right here. One of our engine shop guys travels with us to the racetrack for every event. So every time our car hits the track, we're monitoring performance. The first thing we look at is the air filter. What's getting sucked up into the engine. But the oil filter is just as critical. We life every part in this engine. We know how long it lasts. Only by having a good oil do we have that confidence. We call it motor racing for a reason. Motors are what it's all about. So thanks for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit about what it is we do with our supercar engine program, and I hope you've enjoyed the tour of Shell V-Power Racing.